Have you ever wondered what makes a brand just stick in your head? It's so much more than just a logo or a catchy little tune. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the fascinating architecture of brand identity, how companies build that personality you connect with right from the inside out.
It really all boils down to this one single question. This is the absolute heart of branding. Every single decision a company makes, its look, its message, its vibe, it's all an attempt to answer this. It's about trying to control the narrative and shape how you see them.
And this right here, this illustrates the fundamental challenge of the whole game. On the left, you've got brand identity. That's the company, the sender, right? They're carefully crafting this message, this perfect version of themselves that they want you to see. But then, on the right, you've got brand image. And that's us, the receivers. That's the actual picture that forms in our minds. The ultimate goal? To make that image on the right a perfect mirror of the identity on the left.
So how do companies actually bridge that gap? How do they get from their intention to our perception? Well, it all starts with a big, high-level strategic choice. Let's take a look at the three main ways they structure their identity from the very top.
First up, you've got the monolithic identity. This is pretty straightforward. The company is the brand. A Samsung phone, a Samsung TV, a Samsung fridge, it all shares that one single powerful identity. Next, we have the complete opposite, the branded identity. You might use Gillette razors, Tide detergent, and Pampers diapers every day without ever realizing they're all made by Procter & Gamble because P&G stays totally in the background. And finally, there's the endorsed identity, which is this cool hybrid model. Emporio Armani is its own thing, but it gets this huge boost of credibility and prestige from its connection to the parent brand, Giorgio Armani.
Okay, so once that big picture strategy is locked in, it's time to get creative. How do you actually build the look and the feel of the brand? Well, this is where two absolutely crucial concepts come into play: style and theme.
Let's start with style. Now, this is more than just looking pretty. It's the constant form. Think of it as the overall vibe that you get when you combine all the little pieces, the shapes, the colors, the sounds, into one unified whole. It becomes the brand's unmistakable signature.
And managing that style really comes down to one of two approaches. If you're a brand new company, you usually take the top-down path. You decide on, say, a minimalist style first, and then you pick simple fonts and a clean color palette to match. But an existing brand that wants to reinvent itself often goes bottom-up. They might just update their logo with a more modern font, and that one small change starts a ripple effect, reshaping the entire brand's style.
But style, that's only half the story, right? It needs substance, and that's where theme comes in. The theme is the core message. It's the story, the big idea the brand stands for. It gives meaning to all the pretty visuals. You could think of it this way. Style is the how, but theme is the what. Now here's the thing. Every single element a brand uses, from its name to its jingle, it has to work hard. It has to earn its keep. And this checklist shows us exactly how. The first three are all about connecting with you, the customer. It's got to be memorable, meaningful, and, of course, likable. The last three, those are all about defense, the business side of things. It has to be transferable to new products, adaptable for the future, and legally protectable, so no one can copy it.
All right, we've covered the high-level strategy and the creative tools like logos and themes, but now we get to the really powerful stuff. The tools that aren't just seen or read, they're felt. We're talking about the secret weapon in a brand's arsenal: sensory branding. How do brands use our five senses to bypass our logical brain and forge these deep, lasting emotional connections?
And let's just start with this incredible statistic from Martin Lindstrom: 75%. Just let that sink in for a second. While most brands are laser-focused on what we see and hear, 3/4 of our emotional responses are triggered by smell. This is exactly why sensory branding is such a game changer.
So let's kick things off with the most obvious sense: vision. We are visual creatures after all, and brand marketers have spent decades, maybe even centuries, mastering the language of sight to influence how we think and feel.
And this table really shows how it works. You gotta understand, brands aren't just picking shapes and colors that look nice. They're speaking a language. Angular shapes can feel aggressive and dynamic, while rounded ones feel softer, more harmonious. Warm colors like red and yellow scream energy, while cool colors like blue and green are calming. Even a simple choice like using all caps versus lowercase can send a subconscious message about authority versus being understated. It's fascinating.
Okay, on to our next sense. I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Seriously. Now, think about your favorite brand. What does it sound like? The answer is probably way more complex than you first think.
Brands have this whole sonic toolkit they can play with. You've got the obvious stuff, like jingles. That Intel chime is probably already playing in your head, right? But it goes so much deeper. The very sound of a brand name, the phonetics, can imply things. Words with a shark I sound, for example, often feel lighter and smaller. Then you have the satisfying click of a product closing, the specific voiceover in an ad, or the background music playing in a store. It's all part of the orchestra, shaping your experience.
Now, for a sense that is just primal, touch, or the fancy word for it, haptics. It's actually the very first sense we develop, and a lot of the time, it's the final test before we decide to buy something. How a product feels in our hands can literally make or break a sale.
And we tend to touch things for two very different reasons. First, there's instrumental touch. This is touching with a purpose, with a goal. You're feeling a fabric to check its quality, or picking up a phone to feel its weight. But then there's autotelic touch, which is all about pleasure. It's touching for the sake of touching, like running your hand across a smooth wooden cable just because it feels good. It's about the pure sensory experience, and the best brands design for both.
And finally, we arrive at the chemical senses, taste and smell. These are our most ancient, our most primal senses, and they have a direct, unfiltered hotline to the parts of our brain that control memory and emotion.
Now here is a wild fact that might just blow your mind. What you think of as taste isn't really taste at all. It's a multisensory illusion. It is hugely influenced by what you see and, most importantly, what you smell. In fact, studies have shown that if you simply change the color of a drink, you can completely change how people perceive its flavor, even when absolutely nothing else has changed. It's incredible.
And speaking of smell, what's up with this massive number? 1 trillion. That is the estimated number of distinct scents that the human nose can actually tell apart. That makes our sense of smell orders of magnitude more powerful than our sight or our hearing when it comes to detecting different things. It gives scents this unique, almost superpower-like potential in the world of branding.
So let's bring it all together. We have the strategy, the creative tools, and this powerful assault on all 5 senses. It's all working together for one single ultimate purpose, to shape that final impression that forms inside your mind.
And this all happens through 3 quick cognitive steps inside your brain. First, your brain integrates all those different signals, the logo, the feel of the product, the sound of the store, into one single coherent impression. Then it makes inferences. It fills in any gaps based on your past experiences and everything you already know. And finally, you form an attitude. You make the call, do I like this brand or not? And just like that, the journey from identity to image is complete.
So I'll leave you with a little challenge. The next time you find yourself reaching for a specific product on a shelf, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, why this one? Was it something you saw or heard? Or was it the weight of it in your hand, the texture of the packaging, or maybe a scent that triggered a distant memory? You might be very surprised by what you find. Think about it.